The whisper of his breath against her ear sent shivers down her spine as he murmured, "You think because I'm raising a child alone, I've forgotten how to make a woman feel wanted?" His eyes, dark with determination, held hers. "Let me prove you wrong." Hey everyone, if you're enjoying this story already, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more emotional journeys that will tug at your heartstrings. Your support means everything. Eliza Morgan had always prided herself on being practical. At 34, she'd built a successful career as an interior designer, maintained a sleek downtown apartment, and cultivated friendships with people who, like her, understood that life was best lived according to plan. Romance had never been her priority, especially not with someone carrying the complicated baggage of parenthood. When her best friend Sophia insisted on setting her up with James Calloway, Eliza had reluctantly agreed, but only after making her reservations clear. A single dad? Seriously, Soph? I don't need that kind of complication in my life, Eliza had protested, stirring her latte with more force than necessary. Sophia had simply smiled. He's different, Liz. Just meet him once. That's all I'm asking. Different didn't begin to describe James. From the moment he walked into the cafe, Eliza felt something shift in her carefully ordered world. Tall with broad shoulders and kind eyes that crinkled when he smiled, James carried himself with quiet confidence. His dark hair was slightly disheveled, as if he'd run his fingers through it before arriving, which, she would later learn, was exactly what he'd done after dropping his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, at a playdate. Their first meeting was pleasant enough. James was articulate, intelligent, and surprisingly funny. He spoke about his architectural firm with passion and didn't shy away from mentioning his daughter. In fact, Lily featured prominently in his stories, her presence in his life clearly a source of joy rather than burden. "She's the reason I get up every morning," he'd said simply, and something in Eliza's chest had tightened unexpectedly. By their third date, Eliza found herself genuinely enjoying James's company. They shared similar tastes in music, both loved historical documentaries, and could debate the merits of different coffee beans with equal enthusiasm. But when he'd kissed her goodnight, his lips gentle against hers, she'd pulled away first. "James, I need to be honest. I'm not sure I'm cut out for this." She gestured vaguely between them. "Your life is centered around Lily, as it should be. But I don't know if there's room for someone else." His expression had remained calm, but something flickered in his eyes. "Is that what you think? That being a father somehow diminishes what I can offer as a partner?" "Not diminishes," Eliza had backtracked. "But complicates. Your priorities are different." "You're right about one thing," James had said quietly. "My priorities are clear. But you're wrong if you think that means I can't fully commit to a relationship." He'd stepped closer then, his gaze unwavering. "Being a father hasn't made me less of a man, Eliza. If anything, it's taught me to love more deeply than I ever thought possible." The intensity in his voice had startled her, and for days afterward, his words echoed in her mind. Still, Eliza maintained her distance, convinced that getting involved with James would inevitably lead to disappointment. She'd seen too many friends compromise their dreams for relationships that promised more than they delivered. 2 weeks later, Sophia's birthday celebration brought them together again. The evening had started awkwardly, with Eliza and James exchanging polite but distant greetings. As the night progressed, however, the tension between them became impossible to ignore. "You've been avoiding me," James said when he found her alone on the balcony, the sounds of the party muffled behind them. "I've been busy," Eliza replied, not meeting his eyes. "That's not it." He moved to stand beside her, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from his body. "You're scared." "Excuse me?" Eliza turned to face him, indignation rising. "I'm not scared of anything." James smiled, but there was no mockery in it. "You're scared of what might happen if you let yourself care about someone whose life doesn't fit your perfect plan. You're scared that loving a man who comes with a child means sacrificing your independence. You don't know what I'm thinking, Eliza said, but her voice lacked conviction. Then tell me I'm wrong. James stepped closer, and Eliza found herself unable to move away. Tell me you haven't been thinking about us, wondering what it would be like. When she didn't respond, he continued, his voice dropping lower. You think because I'm raising a child alone, I've forgotten how to make a woman feel wanted? His eyes, dark with determination, held hers. Let me prove you wrong. The challenge in his voice sent heat coursing through her body. Before she could formulate a response, James had closed the distance between them, his lips finding hers in a kiss that was nothing like their first. This was not gentle or tentative, this was a man showing her exactly what she'd been trying to deny. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Eliza felt as though the ground beneath her feet had shifted. All her carefully constructed arguments seemed hollow in the face of the connection she felt with James. I don't know how to do this, she admitted, vulnerability creeping into her voice for the first time. James took her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. Neither do I, not really. But I'd like to figure it out together. That night marked the beginning of a journey neither of them had anticipated. Eliza found herself gradually drawn into James and Lily's world, Sunday morning pancake competitions, impromptu living room dance parties, and quiet evenings spent reading together on the couch. To her surprise, Lily welcomed her presence with an openness that both touched and terrified Eliza. Do you like my dad? The little girl asked one afternoon as they colored together at the kitchen table while James prepared dinner. Eliza hesitated, unsure how to respond to such directness. I do, she finally said. He's a good man. Lily nodded sagely. He gets sad sometimes when he thinks I'm not looking. But he doesn't look sad when you're here. The simple observation lodged in Eliza's heart, a reminder that relationships weren't just about what you might lose, but what you might give. Still, doubts lingered. 3 months into their relationship, Eliza found herself pulling away again. The intensity of her feelings for both James and Lily frightened her. What if she wasn't enough? What if she couldn't be the partner James needed or the role model Lily deserved? The breaking point came after a particularly difficult week at work. Eliza had cancelled plans with James twice, citing deadlines and client meetings. When he called on Friday evening, she almost didn't answer. I think we need to talk, James said when she finally picked up. Can I come over? An hour later, they sat across from each other in her living room, the space between them feeling wider than ever. You're pulling away again, James said, his voice tinged with resignation. I can feel it. Eliza stared at her hands. I'm just not sure I can be what you need. What I need? James repeated, confusion evident in his tone. Eliza, what are you talking about? You and Lily, you're a package deal. And you deserve someone who can fully embrace that, someone who knows how to be part of a family. The words tumbled out, fears she'd been harboring for weeks finally given voice. James was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was gentle but firm. You know, for someone so intelligent, you can be remarkably dense sometimes. Eliza's head snapped up, surprised by his response. I don't need you to be anything other than who you are, James continued. I fell in love with Eliza Morgan, ambitious, independent, occasionally stubborn Eliza Morgan. Not some idealized version of a ready-made mother figure. You love me? Eliza whispered, the rest of his words momentarily eclipsed by those three. James moved to kneel in front of her, taking her hands in his. Of course I love you. How could I not? And yes, Lily adores you too. But that doesn't mean you have to change who you are or what you want from life. But what about when there are conflicts? When my work takes me away, or when Lily needs something I don't know how to give? Then we figure it out together, James said simply. That's what partners do. Being a family doesn't mean sacrificing your identity, it means growing together, supporting each other's dreams. Tears welled in Eliza's eyes. I'm scared, she admitted, finally giving voice to the fear that had been driving her actions. I'm scared of loving you both so much and then losing you. James gathered her into his arms, holding her close as she cried. Love always involves risk, he murmured against her hair. But some risks are worth taking. That night marked a turning point. Eliza stopped fighting against the current of her feelings and instead allowed herself to be carried forward. She learned that loving James didn't mean erasing herself, it meant expanding her world to include his. And loving Lily wasn't about replacing the girl's mother, but about offering another source of support and care in her life. 6 months later, as they celebrated Lily's 9th birthday, Eliza watched James lighting candles on the cake they'd baked together. Lily bounced excitedly beside him, her party dress twirling with each movement. The sight filled Eliza with a contentment she'd never expected to find. Later, after Lily had gone to bed exhausted from the day's festivities, James found Eliza on the back porch, gazing at the stars. "Penny for your thoughts?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Eliza leaned into his embrace. "I was just thinking about that night at Sophia's party, when you challenged me." James chuckled, the sound rumbling against her back. "Not my smoothest moment, but I was desperate. I couldn't let you walk away without at least trying." Turning in his arms, Eliza looked up at the man who had dismantled all her preconceptions. "I'm glad you didn't give up on me." "Never," James promised, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Some things are worth fighting for." As their lips met under the canopy of stars, Eliza marveled at how thoroughly her life had changed. She had feared that loving a single father would diminish her somehow, require her to become less in order to fit into his world. Instead, she had discovered that love, real love, didn't subtract. It multiplied. The family they were building wasn't defined by traditional boundaries or roles, but by choice, the daily choice to show up, to care, to remain present even when it was difficult. And in making that choice, Eliza had found not limitation, but freedom. Sometimes, the greatest adventures begin when we challenge our own assumptions about what we need and who we can love. For Eliza, that adventure started with a single dad who refused to let her doubt what he could offer. And it continued with the realization that the heart, unlike so many things in life, expands to accommodate all the love we're brave enough to let in. If you found this story touching, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt stories that remind us of the power of love and second chances. Share in the comments if you've ever had your assumptions challenged by someone who saw more in you than you saw in yourself. Until next time, remember that sometimes the most beautiful journeys begin when we let go of our doubts and simply open our hearts.